regarding current litigation, proposed by our city attorney. John?
I think what we're asking, well, we're asking you tonight to go into executive session concerning the Myers v. Koopman lawsuit that's currently pending in federal district court, or in federal Colorado court, or 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, I'm sorry. So that, of course, would require a vote of at least 6 of the council members to go into executive session.
Can I ask before the motion, can you narrow down what you... I requested the executive session through a series of email exchanges over the past week. All of the questions that I asked have been addressed, and I expressed to you that I was withdrawing. I no longer feel a need for an executive session. So could you explain what the specifics are that require executive session with a legal basis?
I think because of all the questions that have been raised, I think it would be a benefit to the City Council to be able to speak freely with me and my co-counsel, Kent Campbell, as well as CIRSA representatives concerning this lawsuit.
Okay. Do we have CIRSA representatives here?
Yes.
One of the questions that I've raised, and I'm not going to participate, do I understand that the police chief and that the detective engaged in this lawsuit will be present in the executive session?
Yes, they will.
And I won't participate in that for the reasons that I earlier stated, but I have a question. I hope it's discussed over this aspect of attorney-client relationships. For the reasons that I have articulated in my email, I'd like to know who represents who.
You want that answer now?
If you can, if it requires executive session, then hopefully my colleagues will get an answer. But my issues that I've raised, I don't believe have been adequately answered. And I don't believe that we can have all these different interests represented by one attorney, period. And so, do you feel like responding in the public forum? Fine. If not, address it in the executive session.
I'll address it in the executive session, and I disagree.
Okay, very well. I want to point out the reason I asked for this executive session, because I think there are some things that, and you've gone through, just so that I'm clear, and I've asked specifically what things that you've provided to me in form of email should be considered confidential, and you've responded with a marked up version of an email. Am I correct in that? Those things you consider to be confidential?
Correct.
Okay. What's not confidential is that this case started in 2009 and has, according to at least the case number is 09, in the United States Federal Court, involving a lawsuit where there were a number of parties. That's easily accessible in the public records of the court system. This case has been litigated. At one point, the trial court dismissed all parties and all claims. The defendant in this case, I understand, appealed to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, which, by the way, for my non-lawyer friends, there's a trial court, there's the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and there's the United States Supreme Court. So we've gone up to the 10th Circuit. The 10th Circuit, Chief Briscoe, the Chief Circuit Judge, and 3 other Circuit Court judges kicked this case back, and that's according to the public record. And if you read the order from Briscoe, I don't think it's terribly complimentary to the city, assuming, however, that they're to take all the facts as stated by the plaintiff as true.
Which, of course, they must do.
Which they must do as a matter of law.
And they're not deciding it because it hasn't gone to trial.
Nothing's been decided. My point is that the taxpayers have spent, and I must say that I was a little bit shocked at the amount of money that's been spent to this point. And that's not public, that is public information, am I correct?
It is.
$200,000 has been spent by the taxpayers of Loveland on a case that's been fumbling around since 2009, and the 10th Circuit has basically put this case back to start. We've gone since 2009, we've spent $200,000+, and as of last week, there had not been any settlement discussions. I'm distressed by that situation. I, for one, am distressed. I don't speak for anybody else, but I find that to be just a little bit alarming that no one's bothered to even pick up the telephone to see if this is a $5,000 case or a $5 million case. So those are the issues that I raised. None of them warrant executive session at this point based upon my issues, so I recuse myself from your executive session, if indeed the council calls for one.
Okay, yeah, let's get the motion on the table.
I move that the City Council go into executive session as authorized in CRS Sections 24-6-402, 4B, 4E, and 4G, and City Charter Sections 4-4C1, C3, and C6. This executive session will concern the Myers versus Koopman lawsuit now pending in federal court, and related to this litigation to receive legal advice from the City Attorney and CIRSA-appointed counsel Kent Campbell. And since this is a matter that may be subject to future negotiations, to determine negotiation positions, developing negotiation strategy, and to instruct negotiators concerning such positions and strategy, and to receive and review documents and information that are not subject to public inspection under the Colorado Open Records Act, such as work product documents.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Questions? Okay, roll call, please.
No, not yet.
Oh.
Your brain is working faster than the rest of ours. John, John and I had a discussion this afternoon with a couple of my questions about this, and one of them is raised by Troy's emails asking for some definition on who your client is, and then also that role that you play in for this matter and really for all other matters. And so my question of John today was just kind of where is that line between the representation of this council and our ability to make a decision about a case, any case, that involves our employees, and that when does that separation occur? In my mind, there's a question about that, and I bring it to this council to say that I actually think that it ends up being more of a public discussion about kind of where that line is drawn, John, rather than an exec session where we set a line. To me, that seems like a public conversation.
Those things we think are always best done in executive session. That's what executive sessions are for. The issues have been raised, and I'm no attorney either, so my management or lay perspective on this in response to Councilor McKean's question about where the line is, the line becomes distinct if the interests of our employee become adversarial to the interests of the city. That has not occurred here.